I loved a daughter who was never mine, and she destroyed me for it. The confession sits heavy in my chest as I write these words, but it's the truth that's taken me months to accept. 20 years of my life, 20 years of love, sacrifice, and devotion, all of it reduced to nothing by a single conversation at a kitchen table. I met Rachel in a coffee shop on 5th Street in 2004. She was 28, broken, clutching a divorce decree while her 6-year-old daughter colored quietly at their corner table. Lily looked up at me with enormous brown eyes when I asked if I could share their table. The place was packed, and theirs was the only one with an empty chair. "Is that okay with you?" I asked Lily directly, not her mother. Something about that simple gesture made Rachel's face soften for the first time since I'd walked in. Rachel was fleeing an abusive marriage, starting over with nothing but a beat-up Honda and 2 suitcases. Her ex-husband, Lily's biological father, had been a drinker, a manipulator, a man who made promises he never intended to keep. He'd walked out 6 months earlier, leaving behind only unpaid bills and a little girl who still asked when Daddy was coming home. I was 35, recently divorced myself, and I had no business falling for a woman with that much baggage. But there was something about the way Lily carefully stayed within the lines of her coloring book that cracked something open in my chest. 3 months later, I helped them move into a better apartment. 6 months after that, they moved in with me. The first time Lily called me Dad, I was bandaging her knee after she'd fallen off her bike in our driveway. She was 7 by then, gap-toothed and fearless. "Dad, does it need a Band-Aid?" she asked, examining the scrape. I froze. "What did you call me?" I responded. Her face went red. "I mean Thomas." "Sorry. I know you're not really my dad," she replied quietly. The pain in her voice nearly broke me. I knelt to her level, looked her straight in the eye. "Lily, sweetheart, being someone's dad isn't about blood. It's about showing up. If you want to call me Dad, I'd be honored," I told her gently. Her smile could have lit up the entire neighborhood. From that moment on, I wasn't just Rachel's boyfriend. I was Lily's father in every way that mattered. I read her bedtime stories, stayed up all night when she had pneumonia, worked double shifts at the construction company to afford her private school tuition because the local public school wasn't good enough for my daughter. When Lily turned 10, I legally adopted her. She took my last name, and I remember the pride in her voice when she introduced me to her friends. "This is my dad, Thomas," she would say, no hesitation, no explanation, just pure, uncomplicated love. High school graduation was a masterpiece of parental pride. Lily was valedictorian, full scholarship to state, and when she gave her speech, she looked right at me and said, "I want to thank my dad, who taught me that family isn't about where you come from, but who shows up for you every single day." College brought late-night phone calls during her freshman year when she was homesick. "Dad, I don't know if I can do this," she'd whisper at 2 a.m. "You can do anything," I'd tell her every single time. "I believe in you, sweetheart," I would reassure her. The engagement call came on a Tuesday evening in March 2024. I was reviewing blueprints when my phone rang, and Lily's excitement practically crackled through the speaker. "Dad," Marcus proposed. "We're getting married," she announced breathlessly. "Congratulations, sweetheart," I said, meaning it completely. "I'm so happy for you." "Dad, I want the perfect wedding. I know it's expensive, but this is my dream," she began enthusiastically. "Whatever you want," I interrupted, smiling at her enthusiasm. "You deserve the world, Lily. We'll make sure you have the wedding of your dreams." When I hung up, I felt that familiar warmth in my chest, the satisfaction of being able to provide for my daughter. But even as I held Rachel, even as we talked excitedly about venues and flowers, there was something. A chill at the base of my spine, a shadow at the edge of my happiness. I should have paid attention to that feeling. Love had made me blind to what was coming. Looking back now, I realized that phone call was the beginning of the end. In that moment, when I committed to giving Lily everything she wanted, I sealed my own fate. I made myself vulnerable in the most complete way possible. But I was just a father who wanted to give his daughter the world. Wedding planning became my second job, and I threw myself into it with the passion of a man trying to prove something, though At the time, I couldn't have said what. Every Saturday morning from April through June, Lily, Rachel, and I toured venues across the city. The Riverside Manor caught Lily's attention immediately, a restored Victorian mansion overlooking the Columbia River, complete with manicured gardens and a ballroom that looked like something out of a fairy tale. "This is it," Lily breathed, standing in the center of the dance floor. "Dad, this is perfect." The venue coordinator quoted the price without blinking. $15,000 for the ceremony and reception package. "We require an $8,000 deposit to hold the date," she explained professionally. I watched Lily's face fall slightly. That quick calculation young people do when reality hits their dreams. Without hesitation, I pulled out my checkbook. "We'll take it," I said, writing the check for $8,000. "What else do we need to secure?" I asked the coordinator. Lily threw her arms around me right there in front of the coordinator. "Thank you, Dad." "Thank you so much," she said gratefully. The catering came next. Lily wanted a full 4-course dinner, $80 per person plus service charges. For 150 guests, the total came to just under $12,000. "Are you sure about this?" Rachel asked quietly while Lily was in the bathroom. "Thomas, this is getting expensive." I squeezed her hand. "It's Lily's wedding. She gets one shot at this," I replied firmly. The photographer was $3,500. The florist wanted $2,200. The string quartet charged $800. Every vendor, every detail carried a price tag that would have made me pause in any other context. But this wasn't any other context. This was my daughter's wedding. I dipped into my retirement fund without telling Rachel. When that wasn't enough, I took out a second mortgage on the house. $25,000 in additional debt that I justified as an investment in my daughter's happiness. The dress shopping day in early May was particularly memorable. When Lily stepped out in the 8th gown, a stunning creation of silk and lace that cost $2,800, I knew we'd found it. She stood in front of the mirror, tears streaming down her face. "I feel like a princess," she whispered. "We'll take it," I said, the same words I'd been saying for months. But as the weeks passed, I began to notice things that should have alarmed me. Rachel started taking phone calls in private, always stepping out when her phone rang. Lily became evasive about guest list details, changing the subject when I asked about seating arrangements. One evening in late May, I came home early and overheard Rachel on the phone. "He needs to know soon," she was saying. "We can't keep this from him much longer. The wedding is in 2 months, and if we wait..." She saw me and quickly ended the call. "Who was that?" I asked. "Just my sister. Family drama. Nothing important," she replied dismissively. But this hadn't sounded like family gossip. It sounded like conspiracy. I pushed the feeling down. Pre-wedding stress, I told myself. Whatever they were whispering about was probably a surprise for me. I threw myself deeper into the planning. I personally met with every vendor, reviewed every detail, ensured everything exceeded expectations. This wedding became my masterpiece, my final proof that I was the father Lily deserved. I met with the venue coordinator one final time in mid-June, 6 weeks before the July wedding. We walked through the entire timeline. Guest arrival at 4 p.m., ceremony at 4:30, cocktail hour at 5, dinner at 6:30, dancing until midnight. Every minute was choreographed, every detail confirmed and paid for. "This is going to be a beautiful wedding," she said. "Your daughter is lucky to have a father who cares this much." Driving home that afternoon, I felt complete satisfaction. Everything was perfect. Everything was paid for. In 6 weeks, I would walk my daughter down the aisle. It would be the culmination of 20 years of fatherhood. When I walked into the house that evening, Rachel and Lily were sitting at the kitchen table, both wearing expressions I'd never seen before. Serious, nervous, almost guilty. There were papers spread between them. "Thomas," Rachel said carefully, "we need to talk about something important." "About the wedding?" I set my briefcase down, still riding the high of my successful meeting. "Sure, what's up?" I responded casually. They exchanged a look that should have terrified me. "It's about the ceremony," Lily said quietly. "About who's going to walk me down the aisle." I poured myself a glass of water and sat down, still expecting to discuss minor wedding details. The papers between them looked like vendor contracts. Nothing alarming. "So what's this about the ceremony?" I asked. Did something change with the timing? Lily's hands were folded in her lap. and she stared at them like they held secrets. Rachel looked like she was about to be sick. "Dad," Lily began, then stopped. She took a shaky breath. "We want my biological father to walk me down the aisle," she said quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt the blood drain from my face, my vision narrow to a single point on my daughter's guilty expression. "What?" I managed to say. Rachel rushed to explain. "Thomas, please let me explain. David has changed. He's been in therapy for 2 years, working on himself. He reached out to us about a year ago." "A year ago?" The words came out sharper than intended. "He's been trying to make amends," Lily said, finally looking up. "He knows he was terrible when I was little. But Dad, he's different now. He's sober, has his life together, and he wants to be part of my life again," she explained earnestly. I stared at this young woman I'd raised from a broken 6-year-old into a confident adult, and felt something fundamental shift in my chest. Not just heartbreak, something colder, more final. "You've been talking to him for a year," I said, "since 2023. "Yes," she admitted. "At first just emails, then phone calls. Thomas, he really has changed. He's not the man who hurt us anymore." Rachel reached across the table, trying to take my hand, but I pulled back. "This isn't about you. You've been an incredible father. This is about healing, about forgiveness, about second chances," she said pleadingly. The clinical part of my brain began calculating. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every parent-teacher conference where I was the only father figure, every tuition payment, 20 years of my life reduced to a supporting role. "Where is he now?" I asked coldly. "Seattle," Lily replied. "He has a good job, a nice apartment. He's been paying for some smaller wedding expenses, the rehearsal dinner flowers, my shoes. He wanted to contribute." I felt a laugh building in my chest, but it wasn't humor. "So he's bought you flowers and shoes, and that earns him the right to walk you down the aisle." "Dad, it's not like that," she protested. "Don't call me Dad," I said sharply. The words came out before I could stop them, and Lily flinched like I'd slapped her. But I was past caring about her feelings. "Let me get this straight," I continued, my voice getting quieter, more controlled. "For the past year, while I've been working overtime to pay for this wedding, while I've been emptying my retirement account and taking out a second mortgage, you've been secretly rebuilding a relationship with the man who abandoned you." "It's not secret anymore," Lily said weakly. "We're telling you now." "You're telling me 6 weeks before the wedding. After everything is planned, after everything is paid for," I responded icily. "What role do I get in this healing ceremony?" They exchanged another look, and I knew the answer before they spoke. "You'll still have a special place," Lily said. "Maybe you could do a reading or walk my grandmother down the aisle. Thomas, you're still important to me," she offered hopefully. The laugh finally escaped, sharp and bitter. "A reading? After 20 years of being your father, I get to do a reading?" "You're not being fair," Rachel said defensively. "This is about growth, about healing old wounds." "What do I deserve?" I asked quietly. The question hung in the air. They stared at me, trying to formulate an answer that would make this okay. "You deserve our love and gratitude forever," Lily said. "You saved us. But now I have a chance to heal that relationship, and I need to take it." "You had a father," I said quietly. "For 20 years you had a father, but apparently that's not enough." I walked to the kitchen counter, gripping the edge until my knuckles turned white. "I need some time to think about this," I said, not turning around. "Thomas, please," Rachel said. "I know this is hard, but—" "I said I need time," I interrupted firmly. I walked upstairs and closed the bedroom door. I could hear them talking, in low voices, probably relieved that I hadn't exploded. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't thinking about what was best for my family. I was thinking about revenge. Not the explosive kind. That would destroy my life. The cold, calculated kind that would teach them exactly what they'd thrown away. They wanted David to be the father figure? Perfect. Let him step into my shoes completely. Let him handle the responsibility, the financial burden of being someone's dad. I spent that night planning my disappearance with the same methodical approach I'd used to plan Lily's wedding. By morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I woke up at 5 a.m. with perfect clarity. The rage from the night before had crystallized into something much more dangerous. Absolute calm. I had a plan, and I was going to execute it. Rachel was still sleeping when I slipped out of bed. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, surrounded by wedding planning materials. Every folder represented thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours. Every contract bore my signature, my financial responsibility. That was about to change. I started with the venue. The coordinator answered on the second ring. It was Thursday morning, and event coordinators are always up early. "Thomas, I wasn't expecting to hear from you so soon," she said cheerfully. "I need to cancel the wedding," I said, my voice steady and professional. Silence. Then, "Cancel? Thomas, the wedding is 6 weeks away. Are you sure?" she asked in shock. "Change of plans. I need to cancel everything immediately. Cancellation at this stage means forfeiting your deposit and paying penalties. You'll lose about $12,000, she explained carefully. "I understand. Please cancel everything under my name." "Should I transfer the contracts to someone else?" she asked hopefully. "No. Cancel them completely," I replied firmly. I could hear her typing frantically. "Thomas, I really think you should discuss this with your family. Please just cancel the contracts," I insisted. One down. The caterer was next. Same conversation, same result. $12,000 down the drain. But I felt lighter with each canceled contract. The photographer tried to convince me to reschedule. She'd had couples get cold feet before. When I insisted on full cancellation, she reluctantly agreed, keeping my $1,500 deposit. The florist was almost relieved. They'd been overbooked anyway. The string quartet was professional. The rental company charged a cancellation fee but wished me well. Each phone call was a small liberation. 20 years of financial obligation, evaporating with simple sentences. The money I was losing felt like paying for my freedom. By 9 a.m., I'd canceled everything. Every vendor, every service, every detail I'd spent months perfecting. The dream wedding Lily had planned for July was now impossible to recreate on short notice. Next, I drove to the bank. The joint savings account contained $34,000. Money I'd been setting aside for years, supplemented by the recent mortgage loan. I withdrew $30,000, leaving just enough for basic household expenses. From the bank, I went to my office and submitted my resignation, effective immediately. My boss was shocked. I'd been with the company 15 years. "Thomas, what's going on? This isn't like you," he said concerned. "Personal reasons. I need to make a clean break," I replied curtly. The job in Portland had been a possibility for months. Construction management, better pay, fresh start. I'd turned it down because I didn't want to uproot Rachel and Lily. Now I called them back. "Is the position still available?" I asked. "Yes, absolutely. When can you start?" they responded, eagerly. "Monday," I answered. I found an apartment online and put down the deposit via wire transfer. Furnished one-bedroom, month-to-month lease. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The hardest part was packing. I walked through the house I'd called home for 15 years, deciding what belonged to me versus what belonged to the family I was leaving. I took my clothes, books, tools, and personal items. Everything else stayed behind. These things felt contaminated now, representing a relationship that had been conditional all along. In my desk drawer, I found Lily's adoption papers from 2014, the legal document that made her officially my daughter. I stared at it for a long time, this piece of paper that had meant everything and now meant nothing. I placed it on the kitchen table next to the note I was writing. "Rachel and Lily, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I've taken a job in Portland and will not be returning. I've canceled all wedding arrangements that were in my name. Since you've decided that Lily's biological father should play the primary role, I assume he'll handle the financial responsibilities. As well, I've withdrawn my contributions to the wedding fund. The remaining money should cover household expenses. Lily, I loved you as my daughter for 20 years. That love was real, even if it wasn't valued. I hope your biological father can provide everything you need. Rachel, I've filed for divorce. Please don't try to contact me. I need to start over somewhere I can't be replaced." Thomas I left the note weighted down. by Lily's adoption papers. At 3 p.m. on that Thursday afternoon in mid-June, I drove away from the house where I'd been a husband and father for 20 years. The drive to Portland took 5 hours. I spent them listening to music I hadn't heard in years, thinking about the life I was about to build, a life where my love wouldn't be conditional, where my sacrifices wouldn't be taken for granted. For the first time in months, I felt free. I imagined them discovering what I'd done, realizing their July wedding had become impossible. Most of all, I imagined David discovering that stepping into my shoes required more than good intentions. Let him try. My new apartment in Portland had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Columbia River. I woke up each morning to watch the sunrise paint the water gold, drinking coffee in silence, checking my phone for the messages I knew would come. They started on Sunday, 3 days after I'd left. Rachel's first voicemail was frantic. "Thomas, what have you done? I came home and found your note. The venue says you canceled everything. The caterer won't talk to us. Thomas, please call me back," she pleaded desperately. "Delete!" The second call came an hour later, Lily this time. Her voice was thick with tears. "Dad, please, I know you're angry, but we can fix this. We didn't mean to hurt you. Just call me back, please," she begged. Delete. Monday brought increasingly desperate messages. Rachel had spent the weekend trying to salvage the wedding, discovering the full extent of what I'd dismantled. "Thomas, the wedding is 5 weeks away. We can't afford to rebook everything. David doesn't have this kind of money. Lily is falling apart," she said frantically. I was getting dressed for my first day at the new job when that message played. I looked at my reflection, calm, composed, ready for a fresh start, and felt nothing but satisfaction. The new job was perfect. Smaller company, interesting projects, colleagues who saw me as Thomas the construction manager rather than Thomas the stepfather. No one knew my history. During lunch breaks, I listened to more messages. David had apparently stepped forward, eager to reclaim his role. But as Rachel's calls revealed, good intentions didn't translate into securing venues on short notice or providing financial guarantees. "He's trying," Rachel sobbed in one message. "David is really trying. But the manor won't work with him. His credit isn't good enough, and they're booked solid anyway. We're running out of time." Good. Let him discover that being someone's father required more than showing up after 18 years. Lily's messages became more desperate as the days passed. She'd apparently quit her job to focus on salvaging her July wedding, calling every venue within 100 miles. "Dad, I found a place that might work, but they want $15,000 up front, and we don't have it. David's trying to get a loan, but his credit is complicated. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to lose you," she said tearfully. But she had lost me, and now they were discovering what that loss meant in practical terms. The breaking point came 3 weeks after I'd left, early July, just 2 weeks before what should have been her wedding day. I was having dinner downtown when my phone rang. Lily's number. This time I answered. "Hello, Lily?" I said calmly. "Dad." Her voice was raw, exhausted. "Thank God you answered. I've been calling for weeks." "I know. I've been listening to your messages," I replied coolly. "Then you know how bad this is. The wedding is in 2 weeks and we have nothing. No venue, no caterer, nothing. David tried, but he can't. He doesn't have the resources," she explained desperately. "And what do you want me to do about it?" I asked emotionlessly. She was crying now, openly sobbing. "I want you to come home. I want you to help us. I want to fix this." "Fix what exactly? You made your choice about who you wanted to walk you down the aisle," I responded matter-of-factly. "Dad, please. I was wrong. We were both wrong. David. He disappeared again yesterday. The wedding stress was too much, and he just left. He went back to Seattle and won't answer our calls. Dad, I need you. You're my real father, not him," she admitted through tears. I took a sip of my wine, watching the Portland skyline. Her words should have moved me, should have triggered that old instinct to fix everything. Instead, I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "Interesting," I said. "So when things got difficult, David disappeared again, just like when you were 6. "Yes," she whispered. "You were right about him. And now you want me to come back and fix everything, I stated. Yes, I'll do anything. We can have the wedding however you want. Just please come home, she pleaded desperately. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Complete capitulation, total acknowledgement of what they'd thrown away. Lily, I said quietly, let me make sure I understand. For a year, you rebuilt a relationship with a man who abandoned you. You made secret plans to replace me at your wedding. And now, when he's proven exactly as unreliable as always, you want me to save the day. Yes, she said through tears. I know how it sounds. It sounds like you saw me as a backup plan. A safety net for when your real preference didn't work out, I interrupted. That's not true, she protested. Isn't it? You spent 20 years calling me dad, but the moment your biological father reappeared, you were ready to demote me. What? Does that tell me about how you really see our relationship? I asked coldly. She was quiet, and I could hear Rachel coaching her in the background. Dad, I made a mistake, a huge, terrible mistake, but people make mistakes. Families forgive each other, she said weakly. You're right, I said. That is what love means, unconditional forgiveness, endless second chances. I did that for 20 years. And I'm grateful, she began. But gratitude isn't love, Lily, and you taught me an important lesson about the difference, I interrupted. What do you mean? She asked, confused. I signaled the waiter for my check. You taught me that 20 years of love can be overruled by a single decision, so I'm applying that same logic. Dad, please, she pleaded. I'm not your dad anymore, Lily. You made that clear when you chose someone else for the role. Just like you chose him over me, I'm now choosing my peace over your crisis, I said firmly. You can't mean that, she whispered. I can and I do. You wanted David to be your father. I hope it was worth it, I replied without emotion. But he's gone. He left us, she cried. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you threw away the father who never would have, I said, and hung up. They called 17 more times, over the next 3 days. I didn't answer. Eventually, the calls stopped. 2 weeks later, what would have been the original wedding day, I received a text from Lily. We had a small civil ceremony today. Just me and Marcus and a justice of the peace. I deleted it without responding. A month later, Rachel's divorce papers arrived. I signed them and mailed them back the same day. I heard through mutual friends that David had resurfaced for the civil ceremony, then disappeared again within a week. Maintaining a relationship required more effort than he was willing to invest. I felt no satisfaction in being right. I felt nothing at all. That was the point. 6 months later, I've built a life in Portland that belongs entirely to me. Morning coffee overlooking the Columbia River, reading the news without worrying about anyone else's problems. My paycheck goes toward my own future, a rebuilding retirement, fund, an emergency account, even a vacation fund for Ireland. For the first time in 20 years, my money serves my dreams. The divorce papers came and went without drama. Rachel kept the house and all the memories. I heard she's struggling financially. My income had supported more of their lifestyle than she'd realized. The second mortgage still needs paying, and without my salary, she's taken a second job. I feel no guilt. She made her choices. I made mine. Lily never had her dream wedding. After David's second disappearance, she and Marcus had a courthouse ceremony with just Rachel attending. No white dress, no quartet, no father to walk her down the aisle at all. David lasted 3 weeks after. The August ceremony before disappearing again. The reality of having an adult daughter with expectations was more than he could handle. The letters still arrive occasionally, Rachel's reconciliation attempts, Lily's apologies, friends urging me to be the bigger person. I don't respond. The time for explanations ended in that kitchen conversation. I'm not angry anymore. Anger requires caring, and I've redirected that energy toward people who deserve it. My neighbor brings me soup when she makes too much. My colleague and I grab beer on Fridays. I'm dating Sarah, a teacher with no children and no complicated past. These connections feel different, cleaner, built on mutual choice rather than obligation. Last week, I helped a colleague build a pergola for his daughter's backyard wedding. I watched him walk her down the aisle with tears in his eyes, saw the genuine love between them. No secret phone calls, no hidden agendas. No last-minute betrayals. That's what real family looks like. Mutual love, earned respect, unshakable loyalty. People will tell you that blood is thicker than water, that you should forgive family anything, that love conquers all. But I learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who take your love for granted. I spent 20 years being the father Lily deserved. She chose to throw that away for a man who had done nothing to earn it. That was her choice, just as leaving was mine. As I write this, sitting on my balcony in the evening light, I'm happier than I was in those 20 years of conditional fatherhood. I'm not waiting for someone else to decide my worth. I'm not sacrificing my needs for people who see me as replaceable. I raised a daughter for 20 years, and she taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that I deserved better than conditional love. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.